South Africa, funerals are not just ceremonies of goodbye. They are moments where families, communities, and traditions come together to honor life, preserve dignity, and find closure. For many households, funeral insurance exists for one reason only: to ensure that when death arrives, the burden of cost does not deepen the pain of loss. It is a promise made quietly through monthly premiums, often without much thought given to the fine print, because no one expects to need it so soon. This story begins with a family in mourning. After the death of a dependent covered under a funeral policy, a claim was submitted in the hope that the process would bring some relief during an already devastating time. Instead, the claim was rejected. What might have remained a private dispute between a family and a funeral service provider quickly became a national conversation, unfolding across social media platforms.
The shooting that took place here. Yeah, well, it's a gang that we've been following from Inanda for 3 years, and we know others are somewhere else because they use different cars. So the hunt continues. Fortunate part is that when they arrived here and there was a confrontation between them and the police, and the police, unfortunately, they were fatally shot at, they wounded, and that's why they lied down. The two that are in the vehicle up there, one of them is a leader of that gang, a youngster, a 22-year-old young boy, the leader of the gang that has been terrorizing community of Inanda and Guamash and the surrounding areas. And then there was an engagement and there was exchange of gunfire. And fortunately, our members survived that one, as usual.
Radio talk shows and everyday conversations in homes and workplaces. As the story spread, emotions ran high. Many people reacted instinctively, seeing only a grieving family and a company that had said no at the worst possible moment. Others waited for more information, aware that insurance decisions are rarely simple. The name at the center of the storm was Icebolethu Group, a well-known funeral services provider that suddenly found itself under intense public scrutiny. Facing growing backlash, Icebolethu released a public statement to explain its decision. The company confirmed that the claim had been submitted under a valid policy held by a policyholder whose identity was withheld. It stated that condolences had been conveyed to the family and acknowledged the emotional distress that claim outcomes can cause during periods of bereavement. The company emphasized that it did not take such matters lightly and recognized the sensitivity involved. According to Icebolethu, the claim was processed in line with standard procedures. As required, it was referred to the underwriter after information was obtained from relevant authorities. This included reports from the South African Police Service and the Independent Police Investigative Directorate. These reports, the company said, formed the basis of the final decision. What the official reports allegedly contained would become the most controversial part of the case. Icebolethu stated that the information provided to the underwriter indicated that, at the time of the incident, the insured individual was allegedly linked to unlawful activity. The reports alleged that the individual had been driving a vehicle connected to a kidnapping investigation. According to the same information, a person found inside the vehicle was identified as the complainant in that investigation. The situation reportedly escalated when law enforcement officers approached the vehicle. The reports further alleged that shots were fired, leading to a police response during which the insured individual sustained fatal injuries. Icebolethu made it clear that these details were not conclusions drawn by the company itself, but information contained in official reports submitted to the underwriter as part of the claims assessment process. At the center of the rejection was a specific policy exclusion. Icebolethu explained that its funeral policy, like many others in the industry, excludes claims arising from involvement in unlawful activity, as determined through official investigations. The company noted that these exclusions are consistent with industry underwriting guidelines and aligned with previous rulings by the insurance ombudsman. From a contractual and legal standpoint, Icebolethu stated that honoring the claim would have gone against the terms agreed upon when the policy was taken out. While the explanation clarified the company's position, it did not end the debate. Public reaction remained sharply divided. On one side were those who supported Icebolethu's decision, arguing that insurance policies exist within clear rules and that companies cannot be expected to pay claims linked to alleged criminal activity. They viewed the decision as firm, lawful, and necessary to maintain the integrity of the insurance system. On the other side were voices filled with concern and frustration. Many questioned whether families should suffer financial consequences for actions they may have known nothing about. Others argued that allegations contained in reports are not the same as court convictions and warned about the danger of denying claims based on ongoing investigations. For these critics, funeral insurance was meant to protect families in their most vulnerable moments, not to become another source of trauma. As the discussion continued, the case began to highlight deeper issues within the funeral insurance industry. It exposed how many policyholders may not fully understand the exclusions attached to their cover. It raised questions about whether insurance companies do enough to explain these exclusions clearly at the point of sale. It also forced a difficult conversation about where compassion should meet contractual obligation and whether the balance is always fair. Icebolethu, in its closing remarks, reaffirmed its commitment to ethical conduct, transparency, and responsible underwriting. The company stated that while it recognizes the emotional impact of such decisions, claim outcomes must be guided by policy provisions, verified information, and applicable legal requirements. At the time the statement was issued, the policyholder's family had not publicly responded. This is a story without easy answers. It sits at the intersection of grief and legality, emotion and policy, public expectation and contractual reality. For some, it serves as a reminder to read and understand insurance policies carefully. For others, it raises uncomfortable questions about fairness and accountability in moments of loss. In the end, the controversy surrounding Icebolethu Group is not just about one denied claim. It is about awareness, responsibility, and the harsh reality that the promises we rely on most are often governed by clauses we only discover when it is already too late.